Hello and welcome back to the Embrace the Mud podcast. Today we're going to spend a few minutes exploring a topic that hits close to home for many of us, and that is when your partner accuses you of being controlling. In today's episode, we're going to navigate the murky waters of accusations, self-reflection, and understanding the dynamics of control when it shows up in relationships. So let's dive in. You are listening to the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, and life-giving relationships. Why focus on relationships? Because the quality of our intimate partnerships and close connections influences our health, happiness, and longevity more than anything else in our lives. Relationships matter a lot. So together, let's jump into the mud, aka our messy relationships, pull some weeds, plant some seeds, and create an enriching environment where strong relationships can take root. I am your grateful host, Dara Posner. I am a relational disaster working toward relational mastery. I am also a positive psychology coach, a relational mindset coach, a blogger, and now a podcaster. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, life-giving relationships. If you are a fan of this podcast, please subscribe, follow, like, review, and share. Your engagement in this way is crucial to the success of the podcast, and I appreciate you taking just a few seconds to support my mission, which is to help people like you flourish in life and love. When your partner accuses you of being controlling, it can be a pretty tough pill to swallow. But I think it's important to listen to what our partner's feedback is and to first pause before we become defensive and offended and upset, and to ask ourselves, is there any truth to this accusation? Self-reflection is our compass in the mud, and it guides us to deeper understanding of ourselves, of our partners, and the dynamics in the relationship, so that we can then make good decisions about where we should go from here. So I want to really just make one thing clear, and that is that while controlling behavior can have various roots, it is always unhealthy. But understanding why it surfaces reveals layers about our feelings and our needs. So we want to give it some thought. So I want to talk about the first dynamic where we may see controlling behaviors. And that is with partners who are abusive. I think we all know that abusive people tend to want to control others. Why? Because their intention and their goal is to exert power and dominance over the other person. In a relational dynamic like that, control kind of goes with the territory of one person subduing another person. But very often, when we are in a relationship where someone's accusing us of being controlling, that's not what's happening. There are some other roots that are usually at play, or none at all, which we'll get to as well. So what is another root cause that may be more likely for someone who's listening to a podcast and wanting to self-reflect and look at themselves and improve in relationships? Well, one possibility is feeling unsafe in their own relationship. Yes, abusers obviously control. We all know that. But people who are abused in relationships also exhibit controlling behaviors. And while for an abuser, the goal is to exert power, for someone who is abused, it is an attempt to establish a sense of safety in the relationship for themselves. Consider this scenario. You have, let's say, a wife who is living with an abusive drinker who is her husband. And she feels unsafe when he drinks. So she may hide his wallet from him or try to limit the number of drinks that he can have. Now, of course, she is trying to manage this problem by having these controlling behaviors. And what's lacking here and what's missing and what's causing her to be controlling is that she's lacking boundaries. So she's trying to manage the problem, which is him and his drinking and the abusive behavior that results, versus managing her problem with his problem, which is that she feels unsafe, and asking herself, okay, I feel unsafe. What should I do about that? That doesn't involve controlling him. And that would mean she has to have some pretty clear and strict boundaries that she honors for herself. Recognizing these patterns empowers us to make healthier choices and to establish better boundaries, to be able to reflect and go, I am being controlling, but I feel unsafe. I'm just going about it in the wrong way. What can I do instead? Let me stop controlling. Let me enforce some boundaries instead. A less severe scenario, which I've talked about previously on a podcast episode all about controlling behavior, is where we just don't trust our partner. Maybe we're in a relationship with an under-functioning person. This often happens in relationships where we have one neurotypical partner and one neurodivergent partner. Maybe let's say somebody who has ADHD, undiagnosed or unmanaged ADHD. And what often results in dynamics like that is this parent-child relationship, which is super unhealthy, and one partner is over-functioning and compensating for the other partner and starts to exhibit some controlling behaviors. So this is due to a lack of trust that the other person is going to rise to the occasion, do what needs to be done, make that phone call, accomplish that task, and start to enter into this mode of control, which again is unhealthy, and there's a better way to do that. So these are a couple of reasons, that might be causing truly controlling behavior in a relationship. And it's important to recognize that all controlling behavior is unhealthy, and we want to do something different, right? To have healthy responses to those moments where there's a need that we legitimately have that we would like to get met, but we want to meet it without being controlling. Now, another reason for the accusation of being controlling that your partner might be throwing your way might be happening when you confront your partner about their negative or hurtful behavior. And they deflect accountability by accusing you of being controlling. Perhaps you are confronting them about an agreement that the two of you have that they haven't been living up to, or a promise that they made that they haven't followed through on. This is a toxic maneuver aimed at making you question yourself. So if this is you, if you're confronting your partner and the way that they respond to you bringing up an issue that you're having is to call you controlling, don't fall into this manipulative trap. Instead, what you want to do is stick to the facts and express your boundaries clearly. You want to be able to say, this is what we agreed to, this is what happened, here's what is acceptable to me, and here's what's not acceptable to me in the relationship. Distinguishing fact from fiction is crucial for making healthy choices in relationships. As Dan Sullivan wisely said, all progress begins with telling the truth. So you have to be willing to be honest with yourself and about your partner or anyone else in your life. This is the foundation for wise decision making. So embrace self-reflection. Ask yourself, is there any truth to this accusation? Understand the roots of controlling behavior if you do tend to exhibit that. And establish healthy boundaries. Progress in relationships starts with the truth and with honesty. Remember, you have the power to choose wisely and to navigate the mud effectively. So as we wrap up this very short exploration of control accusations, remember that understanding yourself and your partner is key. These accusations might muddy the waters, but clarity emerges when we can face the truth and do an honest reflection of what's really going on here. So until next time, keep embracing the mud and keep being willing to look at yourself honestly and to look at the dynamics in your relationship truthfully. If you want to stay connected to me, please head over to Instagram and follow me there. My handle is at Embrace the Mud. Also, go over to mudcoaching.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter, Questions for the Soul, where I will send you a journal prompt to help guide you inwardly to discover your deepest needs and desires. As usual, I'll be back here very soon with another episode for you on the Embrace the Mud podcast. And until that time, please remember, you are wired for love and connection. You are capable of love and connection. You are worthy of love and connection. I'll see you next time.